So apparently Lucifer has been helping the science for a very long time. Maybe not well, it's hard to say if it's literal or not, but there is such thing as a Lucifer race. And people may have heard this term, and it was, oh, conspiracy theory. It's not true that it was in these. It wasn't in these. But luciferase has been used in science for a very, very long time. This is what luciferase is. And YouTube may take this video down, except that everything I am telling you is from MIT. It's from PubMed, NIH, Department of Homeland Security, patents. So they can't say it's misinformation. It's all out there. Luciferase is a generic term for the class of oxidative enzymes that produce bioluminescence and is usually distinguished from a photoprotein. The name was first used by Raphael Du Bois, who invented the words luciferin and luciferase for the substrate and enzyme respectively. Both words are derived from the Latin word lucifer, meaning light bearer, which in turn is derived from the Latin words for light and to bring to or carry. Luciferase are widely used in biotechnology for bioluminescence imaging microscopy and as a reporter genes for many of the same applications as fluorescent proteins. However, unlike fluorescent proteins, luciferase do not require an external light source, but do require addition of luciferin, the consumable substrate. So, Lucifer's been helping our science for quite some time. And then luciferin, an organic substance present in luminescent organisms such as fireflies that produce light when oxidized by the action of the enzyme luciferase. Okay. So I found this out. I had heard about this luciferase stuff, but it wasn't in this. It's however, on Joshua Phillips' show today, Crossroads, he went in depth about some of this, and this is this is what it said for his show today. The Department of Homeland Security filed a patent for a new product using luciferase, a bioluminescent material that is being proposed to mark people as a way to verify if they've had these. The concept is being proposed in several different forms, including for bioluminescent quantum dots, and is part of a larger push for new ways to track people's medical data. See, it's for safety. It is for your safety. That's all the science and Lucifer think about is your safety. It's just my opinion. So you can go on news.mit.edu. This is directly from there. Storing medical information below the skin surface. Safety reasons, of course. Tests using human cadaver skin showed that quantum dot patterns could be detected by smartphone cameras after up to 5 years of simulated sun exposure. The researchers also tested this strategy in rats using microneedle patches that delivered the quantum dots along with a polio this. In October 2020, Bill Gates and MIT unveiled the quantum dots to mark children. This pattern of dye is embedded under the skin is injected into the human recipient. Therefore, these dots can be injected into the body without our knowledge or consent under laws being prepared in many countries. These dots are biocompatible microparticles that are 20 microns in diameter. They were not in these. They were not in those. I don't believe they were. I do believe that this is where they're going, though. And the MIT article was 2019, and the one I just read, which was from ArmstrongEconomics.com was October 2020. So there is patents on this. You can the quantum dots. You can go find it. There's so many patents on all this. So this is in the public domain. It's on MIT's website. It's on PubMed. It's on NIH. Just look it up. So for YouTube to say it's misinformation, no, it's not. It's all out there. And here is, I'll just show this. So that's what it looks like. It's for your children's safety. That's all it is. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I can post some of the stuff I found because I did look it up. There is patents on all this. I'm just not going to go into it because of the commies of YouTube. They don't want to go by what like the science even puts out themselves. They just want to decide what's misinformation. So I'll post it on Safe Chat. My profile name on Safe Chat is Bethany.544. Something else Joshua Phillips talked about, and I think this is really important, and I like the way he explained this. It's about grooming society in general. We've all been groomed. People may not want to accept that. Everybody in your science and medicine will never accept it. There's children in Australia. There was a video Joshua Phillips showed where they're eating bugs. I haven't brought up the eating bugs thing because, because it seems so crazy, doesn't it? But then that's what the World Economic Forum is. It's a bunch of psychopath, crazy people. So it's all part of their plan. They want to get rid of meat. They want, and really what it is, and I think Joshua Phillips is right about this. It's to disempower you. If you don't have the things your body needs, like protein, and they try to say that the insects have protein. No, they don't. Look at North Korea. Those people eat insects, anything they can find, because they're given no food. And you know why? It disempowers them. That's the reason they do it. That's the reason why our lovely government and science and all of them like to create the crises and then come in like the heroes. Yeah. Except they're not the heroes. So I like the way he describes this about grooming society.
This point, just the weirdest. It's a weird way for news to cannot navigate the world or society or do anything without having that structure in place, because without that they are helpless. They cannot understand the world and they cannot do anything. That is the real reason why they do that. When you get into the weeds of previously, because they've done it in the past, why they do those things. You're creating a person incapable of freedom is what you're doing. And if you create a person incapable of freedom, then what do you need to have in place? You need to have you, right? If you're the totalitarian running the whole thing, you in place as that power dictating it, who have created a in-need and helpless population. It's like Stalin's, the allegory, or people talk about a story of Joseph Stalin, for example. And I don't think Stalin actually did this. I think people use this as a story to illustrate what Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union, did, right? People talk about, there's a story of Joseph Stalin that he was on a farm one day. And people were asking him about governance and how you govern. And he said, watch this. And he picks up a chicken. And he pulls out all the chicken's feathers, pulls out all of its feathers, right? And puts it down on the ground. And then he takes a handful of chicken feed and gives it to the chicken. And he says, now this chicken will depend on me forever. The government, that Stalin in that allegory, right, destroyed the chicken's ability to be independent. He made it so the chicken needs warmth because he removed its ability to be warm naturally. And by removing that ability, it needs him now for that. You've manufactured dependence. And they would argue as the story went in Russia, that was a symbol, right? A story to illustrate the nature of that government, where they made people dependent, and after harming them to make them dependent, then claim that people need them, right? That's how this stuff works. I believe the eating bugs thing is just part of that whole thing.
So that's what he was saying about, he was talking also about that's why they go after the children, and they're doing the whole like change your gender, pushing the critical race theory, because they're at that impressionable age. And they can, so the teacher in the classroom is going to mold them into the environment that they will accept. And that's happened to all of us. And that's absolutely a fact. The millennial generation was taught a completely different history than I was. So, the one thing that is 100% is the Bible. First of all, because it really, it lays all this out, the repeating story. And nobody could have created the Bible. I've went into it in enough videos. So, it was our handbook. But this is what these people want to do. They've done it with all of us. We're told we have freedom, yet we have all these layers, associations, unions, all these layers that stand in the way of freedom. But because they tell you enough times that you have freedom, then you believe you do. And if you believe you have freedom now, then you've never known what freedom is. Have any of us known what freedom really is? Because there's enough people that would say, no, I'm happy with the government deciding everything. It's not a good idea. Because where they will eventually take all of this is that they care about some lie of the climate change. That's a lie. But they care, think about it, they care more about the planet than they do human beings. So it's the whole, they told everybody for decades now that abortion was about women's right. No, to the science and to the science and your World Economic Forum, no, it was about reducing the population. It says it on the PubMed, NIH. Just go look up abortion. It's almost in every paper going back to the 80s, even before that. That was the reason for it, to reduce they care more about the planet than they do about human beings. So to think so all of our governments in every country is going along with the World Economic Forum, because they've been at this for a long time. So I'll tell you this. In medicine, I don't expect people most of the people I've ever worked with, they will never step outside the educated box. Like I said, they only know the Lancet. So if the Lancet or PubMed puts out, oh, bugs are a good source of protein, yes, we need to stop eating all food and just eat bugs, they will believe it as long as it comes out in the Lancet or PubMed or one of whatever the hospital deems as a worthy peer-reviewed. That's how mind-controlled they've been. They don't even know that they don't think, because they think that they think. That's where we all have been at until we woke up. And then when you wake up, you realize it all makes sense, what I'm saying. Just because before, it's like there were so many things that were never explained and didn't make sense in the world. But then when you wake up, you realize, okay, now it all comes together. Now I realize who the true threats are and what the true problem is, and that the people that have been telling me they're my savior and that they're going to save me are really the people that are causing the problems to begin with. So, but I will guarantee that unless an act of God comes on the medical community, at least the ones I've seen, and it's 99.9%, they will believe eating bugs is a good idea if the Lancet or PubMed says it is. And in Australia, they have kids eating them. And they're saying, oh, they're good because they put some cheddar cheese or something on it. I don't know. But they're eating it out of a bag like chips. This is how sick. It's how sick it is. So just think about it. All the people that would believe what the Lancet says about bugs, or that they're the same people that are taking care of you. And it's not that they're part of it, but they've been mind controlled. So, and that's the reason for the universities. The universities should have never been teaching people to never think outside the box. But that's what they did. I've seen too many. I've been at too many different places, and I've seen too many people that they don't even want to consider it. They won't even hear you, because unless the hospital says it, or the CDC, or the Lancet, or PubMed, it's not true to them. So that means those organizations, no matter what they say to them, they would believe it as long as it comes from that source. That's not a rational thinking person, because they're not even awake. They don't even know, they're just sleepwalking. So it would be nice to see some of them wake up, but I think that the reason for the medical education being so long it was to program. And now they're getting a hold of the little kids, and they did it to the millennial. Most of your millennial generation, they're used to accepting whatever authority says. They don't have that part of them like I did growing up, because I was taught a different history about America, where it's like, no, you fight for freedom. They're more just, they've been groomed to accept whatever authority tells them. So it's obvious. It's been obvious to me for a long time, and a lot of people. But your most educated, they either know and they're on board with the commie agenda, or they just have been programmed. And in order for them to become deprogrammed, they have to put down the Lancet, they have to put down every peer reviewed, and they have to just start thinking for yourself. That's actually your first step to freedom.